are going to have a good time. You can just sit back and relax. I will do all the work trying to defeat this legendary chess computer that I was absolutely extremely fortunate to get for next to nothing at a yard sale. How lucky can you be? As you can see, it boasts here that the Mephisto technology has won the World Microprocessor Computer Chess Championship on numerous occasions. This is the consumer model, and I'm going to play it now. Let's take a look. Here it is. Isn't that a beauty? And let's see, in good unboxing fashion, what else we can find in here. We can see the pieces here. They are quite nice. And they come in some modern plastic bags. That could even be ASMR. I believe that these plastic bags has been provided by the seller. And then will you look at this? How cool is that? How cool is that? That is the computer rankings for 89. I think it's 89. And you can see there's a lot of Mephistos on it because a lot of people made versions of Mephisto. And we even see Fritz, an early version of Fritz on here. And you can see the highest rated computer is 2402. That is well above my level. So I'm not sure how strong our machine is. Let me get rid of this white box here. There is a receipt. It's pretty cool. Some warranty. And then there is this thing here. I just want to show you guys, because the company behind Mephisto, they made this beautiful, very professional, cool looking manual in many languages, but not in Danish, in my language. So somebody took the time to actually literally make a translation, and just look at the aesthetic of this. It looks like it's been hammered out on a typewriter. I mean, how cool is that? And then I can read how to do this, how to play this machine in my native language. So, here it is. Isn't it magnificent? Let's set up the board. And you will notice that I will have the machine play white. If you watched the last video I did in this series, you will maybe remember that I also had the machine play white there. In that video I was playing against a machine from 79, the Chess Challenger, which was the first commercially available chess computer. And I played as black because I wanted to give the computer an advantage, because I was thinking that it probably wasn't that good at chess all the way back in '79. Now this machine, on the other hand, is very different. This was made in '89, and the computer technology and our understanding of how to program these things had developed a lot since then. So maybe I should be playing as white to give myself a bit of an advantage, because maybe this thing is very strong. But I want you to sit in, so you can see the panel and everything. It's made, it's designed so that you are supposed to sit here, from where you are looking. And I want you to have the best view possible, of course. So that is why I'm doing it like this. Okay. So now with the pieces set up, let's fire this thing. Let's fire it up. Okay, you can see it's booting. And there was a beep sound that hopefully wasn't too loud for you. I'm going to turn it down in the edit, but it's very loud for me. So the first thing we should do is we should use the keypad here, which is just the chessboard, to tell the computer that we don't want the beeps. And we press this one. And then H1, the square H1, is the one that toggles sound. And then we press enter. And then there's no more sound from the machine. The next thing is we want to tell the computer that we want to play as black. And that's the square G1. Like so. And then enter. Now it knows that we want to play as black. And then the last thing to do is just to press enter. And the machine will make its first move. Like so. Okay. So we can see the 2 lights up and D lights up. So it plays going from D2 to D4. Like so. Now it's our go. Let's play a knight to F6, hoping for a possible Budapest gambit. Maybe it's not programmed to know about the Budapest gambit, which is an opening that I have made a video about. That's very fun to play, and let's try it out. Let's see if we are allowed. It says the pawn on C2. C2 to C4. Okay, this allows the Budapest gambit. You have noticed maybe that so far the machine has been playing its moves instantly. That will not continue. That's because it has a pre-programmed so-called opening book with the recommended moves in many known positions. But I don't think it's a very extensive opening book, because in '89 they just simply didn't have that much much memory to deal with. And I mean, this thing, I checked up the specs, it runs on 8 megahertz and it has 256 kilobytes of memory. So yeah, probably not a very extensive opening book. The Budapest Gambit here is E7 to E5. We see an instantaneous response though. We see D takes E5. So the machine did know about this opening. That could be very bad news for us, because this opening maybe is a little dubious. Now on the move, the main move here is knight f6 to g5. And the machine is still in its opening book. It plays knight on g1 to f3. Alright, but we are not necessarily super unhappy with that. This is the Adler variation of the Budapest Gambit. The other line that I think is a better try for white for an advantage is bishop to f4. Now I'm going to play bishop to c5, attacking the f2 square, and the machine will have to play pawn to e3. And the reason that I think many others prefer bishop to f4 before playing this move is that now this bishop, you can see, it's sort of hemmed in a little bit here. I will continue ganging up on this e5 pawn. I want to capture it with this knight, but it's protected by this knight. You can hear the magnets, pretty nice. So we play knight on b8 to c6, and we see the instantaneous response with f1 to e2, which is all fine and dandy. And we will. I can't remember if it's correct to castle. I think it's correct to first capture the knight at the pawn with knight takes e5, and that is the knight on g4 takes e5. And we got it out of its opening book. You can see this light is flickering because the machine is thinking. We could of course enter into a whole philosophical debate about whether it's really thinking whatever it's doing, calculating, computing, but it is going through a process that will produce something that I can recognize as a chess move, and that is, at the very least, pretty cool, to be honest. So it came up with a move. Let's see. It wants to play e1. Right, e1. Is that not true? No. It's b1 to c3. That's absolutely cool. I will castle. So I make a short castle here. and then the machine will think again. So it will think again for 15 seconds. And let's see what it came up with. It says, it says knight on c3. Where are you going? To e4. Okay. Interesting. That's a pretty surprising move. I have not seen that move before. And I guess maybe castles was a mistake, actually. Maybe castles was a mistake. Because a lot of the cool stuff I want to do may not be possible now. Okay, so the bishop is attacked by the knight. The knight is orienting itself towards the bishop, saying, "Hey, I'm coming for you." But the bishop is saying, "Nope, I will slide from c5 to b4 with a check." Let's go. c5, b4, and that, my friend, is check. I suspect that we will see bishop to d2, or maybe, I'm pretty sure we will see bishop d2 here. So I'm quite happy with my position so far. And we do see bishop to c2, to d2 I mean. And I think here I can maybe do a little trick, because I think I can play a7 to a5, which is a move that I actually want to make anyway in this opening setup that I'm trying to go for here. The machine is thinking. So one of the ideas in the Adler variation is to use this rook do a rover, a rook up and over to attack the king side. Let's see what the machine wants to do here. It says d2 takes b4. Okay, that is quite interesting, I must say. We are going to recapture with the pawn, and we are even on material, and you could argue that this pawn is very weak and bad, but I think we have some counterplay. It plays f3, takes e5. So we see some exchanges here. We are going to recapture with this knight, and all of these ideas are covered in my opening video about the Budapest gambit that you can check out if you want to. Now the machine plays king. It castles to the king side, like so. And I think we will try to go for a attack against the White Majesty with this weird idea here. I'm just going to check, so I want to play rook a6. And I just want to make sure, that I am not falling, that this move, for instance, unveiling an attack against the rook from the bishop, that it's not doing something terrible to me. But I don't think so. I think we could potentially see a move like pawn to f4, attacking this knight after rook a6. And then we would probably have to play knight g6. But pawn to f4 would also weaken my opponent's structure. So I think I am okay with playing rook to a6 here. So I am considering going queen h4, rook h6, play d6, pawn to d6, sack, 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 mate. Usually that doesn't work too well against computers, but let's see. Queen on d1 to b3, which is going for this pawn, and that could be a very good. That could be very good news for me, because the machine is not truly intelligent. It is basically all the time making the chessboard and the position into a math equation, basically not even an equation, just arithmetic, where it looks at the position and then it counts up who has how many pieces. The traditional value would be 1 point for pawns, 3 for knights, 3 for bishops, 5 for rooks, and 9 for queens, and a million for the king. And then it says, okay, if I do this and this and this, I can maybe win a pawn, and then that's good. And then it has some small other positional factors, like the closer pawns are to the back rank, the more valuable they are. If you have both the bishops, the bishop pair, you get a little extra point. But since the computer cannot see that far into the future, it can go hunting for pawns and not react in time to a potentially dangerous attack. And I'm thinking here that queen to h4 could be quite cool here. So the machine is thinking. So I want to play rook h6 and checkmate on h2. And if the machine takes the pawn on b4, I will just play rook h6. And I think I will have an excellent position with adequate compensation for the pawn. Okay, so let's see. It plays something entirely different. It plays knight on e4 to c5. Knight to c5. Oh, I didn't even realize that I was also attacking the knight with the queen, because I'm so used to these patterns of attack against a slightly different version of what white is doing here. So I didn't even notice that I was also threatening the knight to just come in and capture this knight. I think my position is tremendous right now. I think rook a6 to h6 is maybe pretty close to winning. Yeah, there is only one move. The computer plays it instantly because it can see that everything else loses. So it plays pawn to h3. But now we are just going to... I mean, this is actually kind of the power of opening preparation. I've never played this against this machine before, but I have studied the Budapest gambit, and I am familiar with certain attacking ideas. And when the computer even plays a suboptimal, gives it a suboptimal treatment, opening. Well, then it's just so much easier for me to figure out what to do. So here I will play pawn on d7 to d6. This attacks the knight. The knight will have to move, very probably. And this bishop now can come and sacrifice itself here on h3. Just opening the gates for an attack against the king. Okay, we see an interesting move here. We see f2 to f4. Wow, interesting. So the computer is trying to say, okay, if you take my knight, I will take your knight. But I feel that I have bigger fish to fry. I feel that I could maybe be pretty close to checkmating. I am thinking about playing bishop takes h3. If pawn takes h3, then queen here check, king moves, and rook takes h3 checkmate. So bishop takes h3. Let's say they take the knight, the machine take the knight. I can then maybe just move the bishop back somewhere. But I'm not sure the checkmate, how fast the checkmate is coming in that situation. So how about playing queen to g3 immediately? If pawn takes knight, then bishop takes h3, threatening checkmate. It cannot be captured because the pawn is pinned. There is no rook f3 because for the moment we have knight here. There could be knight e4, which unfortunately means that queen a3 does not work. Very probably it does not work. How about pawn takes knight? Pawn takes knight. Bishop takes h3. Then what will the computer be doing? Will it play something like? Will it play something like rook f4? Will it play something like that? What could I do against rook f4? Then I could maybe play just queen g3. I think that's pretty good. So let's say d takes c5, f takes e5, bishop takes h3. If rook f4, queen g3, that has got to be winning. That has got to be winning. So yeah, I think I will just take the knight. Maybe a move like knight g4, h takes g4, queen check, king f2. It doesn't look like. I think I will just capture the knight. Pawn takes knight, bishop takes h3, if pawn takes bishop, then queen g3 is winning. So what in that position, what else could the machine do? It could it must be winning. Okay, we'll play pawn takes c5. Now we also have a sort of a pretty good structure here for the endgame. These 4 pawns here are going to be pretty tough to break down. So it plays f4 takes e5. Right. That was what we were pretty sure it would do. And we were also pretty sure that we in this position can play bishop on c8 takes h3 here. So there is no g takes h3. Let's see, it plays rook a1. What? Rook a1 to d1. What is that supposed to do? So suppose I just capture this pawn. Bishop takes g2. Bishop takes d2, king takes g2, queen h2 check, king f3. Well, maybe the king can somehow escape. How about queen g3? Just threatening checkmate. I think queen g3 here is good because it threatens checkmate. It also threatens a check here. And when this bishop moves, we can come in here. So I think queen g3 has got to be very, very good. I'm so curious about why it wanted to play this rook move. That doesn't seem to make any sense to me. Okay, the machine is thinking. I think we have an excellent attack going on here. And now it says bishop on e2 to f3 to defend the checkmate. Which makes a lot of sense. But it also defends the e3 pawn by blocking. But we have so many things we could do here. Let's say we play maybe bishop somewhere, maybe to f5. Then we can start giving checks down here. Maybe not immediately winning. The king can maybe escape. So let's say king here, check. And then there's no more checks really. Let's say bishop takes. Let's say bishop takes pawn, rook g6, and then the machine protects. So I think we may not have a checkmating attack now. What we do have is that we have won an extra pawn, and we have our opponent in a pretty precarious position. And bishop to e6. Basically saying, okay, so we have won a pawn. You have weird doubled pawns here. So this pawn is weak and not so useful for the machine. And we are threatening this one. We have this very awesome structure here, and we still have pressure against the king. So that could be a way. We could also play bishop to g4 to try and exchange some pieces. If the bishop, let's say bishop takes, queen check, king f2, queen check on h4, king back, queen takes bishop. I think I just like bishop at h3 to e6. I think that's a very it had already calculated that. That's so interesting. So here it wants to play bishop takes b7. Wow. I did not expect that. That is a very I almost want to say greedy move by the computer. And what is very weird to me is that it hangs the e3 pawn. Right? I can just capture that with check and mission. No, of course, the queen is here. Okay, yes. Okay, maybe I can sacrifice the bishop. Bishop takes c4, queen takes c4. King takes e3, check, rook f2. Rook h1, check, king takes, queen takes f2. I don't think I get that much from that. I can also just capture this pawn on e5. That looks decent. I think I actually like that very much. Queen takes e5. Queen takes e5. Because now I can potentially have moves like queen h2, check, king f2, rook f6. And the pawn was defending f6 and now it's not. Let's do a little material count. So, these are my pieces. These are the pieces of the machine. And you can see we have captured the same pieces, but I am up a pawn. I have a pawn more than the machine. Okay, it plays rook on f1 to f4. Okay, so it's getting a little active here. I am thinking that we could maybe even play pawn to g5. So rook would move somewhere. Then queen h2. Check. King on f1 or f2. Rook f6, check. And then we can maybe capture this pawn on g2. So let's just try and put this out. Pawn to g5. Let's say a reasonable move like rook e4. Queen h2. Queen h2. King f. Let's say f2. Rook f6, check. And there is no real way, there's nowhere it can go where it's not hanging g2. So maybe after g5 it will have to play rook to g5, but still queen check, king f2, or king f1, rook f6 check. After rook f6 check, what do we do? What can it do? Now it can go this direction here, and no, it cannot go to g5 because we will just capture it. We will just capture it with the bishop here. And even though yeah, so g5 is actually pretty good, I think, because rook here, rook on e4 check, king f1 rook check. The king has no way to protect the g2 pawn, because on e4 the bishop on b7 is blocked from the defense. So after, I think we can pretty much rule out that the rook will stay on this rank here, and I think we can be pretty sure that the rook will have to move somewhere back. So if it goes here, we have this move which skewers the rook. So both of the rooks. Here we can just capture it, here we can just capture it. If it goes here, we have check, king f1, check, king e2, bishop check, bishop back check, bishop takes bishop check. I think rook f2 is the most likely here, I think. And I think we will, so I think in this position we will play pawn on g7 to g5. I'm not sure how good that move is. Hopefully it's very good. I think rook f2 is, so pawn f4 to f2, yes. Okay. And how are we feeling about this whole situation here? I'm thinking that this rook needs to be in the game somehow. But the machine has a rook here on d1, so we can't go to d8 very easily. But what if we play a move like bishop g4, trying to chase this rook away? If it leaves its post, we will have checkmate with queen h2 check, king f1, king h, queen h1 checkmate. So that means that machine will have to play bishop back to f3. Bishop f3, queen h2 check, king f1. I think it's time to play bishop on e6 to g4. I think the thing here is that we are up only a single pawn. What does that mean? That means that the machine hasn't completely even playing strength. It doesn't feel the pressure, it doesn't make blunders that it wouldn't normally make. But if I make a blunder, it will punish it immediately, and then I can lose this game, even though it looks like I am doing so well. I can easily lose this game. Okay, let's see. We do have b7, bishop on b7 to f3. And I'm thinking maybe we can just capture that to get rid of that, and maybe let's say queen h2 check, king f1, king queen h2 check, king e2, bishop takes bishop check. It's not doing so much. It's not doing so much. We could also be very, very aggressive and play pawn to f5, but I don't think I want to do something like that. It's very tough to find a way to sort of push the advantage here. Because, I mean, bishop takes bishop, rook takes bishop. It makes it a little easier for the machine to play. But then maybe we can play pawn to g4. I think I will try that. So the only problem with bishop takes bishop is that machine might play a move like pawn takes bishop. So I think I will actually try to activate this rook instead. And the first thing I'll do is I will admit that this move didn't really do what I wanted it to do. So I'll play it back to from where it came. I think that's what I want to do. Machine can, yes, I will play it back here to e6, and then I will maybe play rook to e8 to start and form a battery with the queen and rook against e3. And yeah, I'm having a great time here playing this ancient piece of technology. Bishop f3 goes back to b7, so it repeats the position. Now if I go here, we can go for a draw with threefold repetition. Of course, I don't want that. So I think I will just play rook to e8. And maybe have some nice pressure against the e3 pawn. b7 to c6, yes. That makes a lot of sense. That does make a lot of sense. But I think I can maybe even just play rook e7. I expose myself to a check on the back rank, but I can play here with the king to g7, and I'm not sure if I'm not sure how the machine can follow up. So I will play rook e7, and let's see if I am missing some devilish trick here. And I'm actually falling in some sort of checkmate trap. But I don't think so. I think rook d8 is adequately met by king to g7. In hindsight, I should probably have played bishop to c8. Well, it does play the check. And it's interesting that it's thinking now, because wasn't king g7 the only legal move I had available? Okay, so we see c6, back to f3. Okay. So I want to move my bishop somewhere, so I can go and threaten the e3 pawn. Maybe, just maybe, I can play pawn to g4, harassing this rook. I mean, after the bishop move, then check. King moves, so the rook will have to go maybe to d2 to cooperate with the other rook. Let's say here, bishop moves. Where does the bishop move? Probably back to b7. It seems to like that square. Queen check, king f1, pawn to g3, rook d2. I think I like this idea of going pawn from g5 to f3. Backed up by the bishop here. Attacking this bishop. And now it's just a matter of activating the queen, getting the queen involved. Bishop back to b7. Okay. You know what we can also consider? We can consider going rook d7 to just trap this rook and force a trade. I'm not sure if we need to do that. It does give up a little bit of tempo. Let's say queen h2 check, king f1, queen h2 check, king e2, king e2, pawn to g3. That looks good. So queen check, king here. This check, king here. This move to open up for this check right here. Okay. I think check. I think we want to do the check first. Yeah. Queen h2 check. King f1 only move. And then we can consider either playing g3 immediately or playing queen h1 check first. Or playing I like this move, Queen h1 check, king e2. Let's say pawn g3, rook f1, bishop g4 check, bishop back to f3, bishop takes bishop, check, king, it has to be good. It just has to be good, this, I think. g4, take to g3, trying to harass this rook. So will we be able to finish this game? You can see it's putting up a very stiff resistance, and one false move from us could spell disaster. It's very important that we have the pawn on b4 to take care of c3, so we don't see any checks here on this diagonal towards the king. Okay, we see rook on f2 to f1. And now I am actually getting a bit of an idea here, because bishop to g4 check. It has an extra point that it has a bunch of extra points that I didn't fully appreciate before. Because let's say bishop to f3, like so. And the thing here is that we can now actually capture this pawn because this bishop is pinned. Unless, when I did the calculation earlier, I put the pieces on the wrong squares. So, queen takes g2, check. So, let's see. It will play king to e1. And now we should be very, very, very close to winning. I think we can just capture the bishop. Bishop takes bishop. I think that's just winning. Bishop takes bishop on g4 takes f3. Queen on b3 to d3, trying to stop the checkmate on e2. So does the machine have any sort of counterplay here? The queen has no checks, right? There could be like rook g8 check, king takes g8, queen d8 check, king back to g7, then queen takes e7, but we're not really afraid of that. I just want to be sure that we are not, messing this up somehow, some way. We could play rook on h6 to e6, getting up on the e3 pawn. That looks pretty good. And it looks like there's not going to be, rook on e6. Rook f1 takes the bishop. Okay. much just capture that rook. Rook g1, queen takes f3. I'm not sure what the machine could do. We could also play. We will just play this simple queen takes f3 and d3 to d5. Yeah, okay. I think we should just be winning pretty easily. There has to be checkmate in some amount of moves here. Rook takes e3, check. King d2. And isn't rook e2 the easiest way to win? The fastest win is check with the queen f3, king at d1 to c1. Oh right, it's not going to be checkmate because it can sacrifice the queen, but rook e1 check, queen d1. Alright, queen d1, and then rook takes queen. We're just cleaning up here, so it has to play basically has to play rook takes rook, because king takes rook is checkmate in one. Rook takes rook. I think the easiest way here is just to play rook e1 in order to pin this rook here. It can't capture. I don't think it can capture it. That's checkmate in some moves anyways, if it does that. It doesn't really matter what it plays, I think. It plays rook, takes rook. We will counter with queen takes rook, then king c2. Then it's time to finish this game up. I think the easiest way is queen takes queen d2 check, king c1, and then we're going to make a new queen. It plays b3, and now it flashes. It wants to know what piece we want to put there. I think maybe a rook could be cool, because it wins. So, and we under promote to a rook, and it flashes, and that is the game with the Mephisto Europa Edition. Thank you so much for watching. I had a blast. I think it was actually a pretty cool game. I think it was a pretty cool game. So I hope I will see you in the next video.